You blink, and you miss it. Daniel drops to one knee before Lisa's even had a chance to catch her breath. The airport air still thick with jet fuel and nerves, and suddenly the entire world seems to freeze as he asks her to marry him. Right there, right then, with a ring that glints almost as brightly as the sweat on Lisa's forehead. And for a split second, you can see every emotion flicker across her face. Shock, disbelief, a wild hope, and then that old familiar fear. The one that's been riding shotgun with her all the way from the States to Nigeria, whispering her daughter Faith's warnings in her ear, reminding her that promises made at 30,000 feet don't always survive the turbulence of real life, especially when the landing is this rough, this fast, this public, and this impossible to take back. Welcome to Reality Sport. I'm Oliva, and if you're not already subscribed, you're about to see why you need to be, because this is the kind of drama that makes you want to pause, rewind, and then drop your own hot take in the comments, so don't hold back. I want to know what you'd do if you were in Lisa's shoes, because honestly, who expects a proposal before you've even had a chance to check your teeth for airplane spinach? Lisa's mind is racing, and you can almost hear the gears grinding as she tries to process what's happening. Her heart pounding so loud she's sure Daniel can hear it, and somewhere in the back of her mind, Faith's voice is getting louder, reminding her of every late-night phone call, every tearful promise, every warning about moving too fast, about not letting loneliness make decisions that her head will regret. But here she is, standing in a foreign country with a man she's only known through a screen, and suddenly the stakes feel higher than ever. Because this isn't just about romance, it's about trust, about hope, about the kind of leap that either lands you in a fairy tale or flat on your face. And right now, Lisa can't tell which way she's falling. But before we get swept away by the spectacle, let's rewind just a few hours back to that cramped airplane seat where Lisa sat fidgeting with her phone, scrolling through old messages from Daniel, reading and rereading his promises, his declarations of love, his dreams of a new life together. And every time she started to doubt, she'd remember the look on Faith's face when she swore she wouldn't do anything reckless, that she'd take things slow, that she'd be honest about her past, and that she'd come home with her dignity and her heart intact. The flight was long, the food was terrible, and the anxiety was relentless, but underneath it all was this electric current of excitement, the kind that makes you believe anything is possible. Even a love story that starts in your 50s and takes you halfway around the world. Still, there's a reason Faith was worried, and it's not just because Lisa has a habit of falling hard and fast. It's because Daniel's messages, as sweet as they were, always seemed to circle back to the same themes. Dreams of America, a better life, a fresh start, and while Lisa wanted to believe it was all about her, there was always that nagging doubt, that little voice that wondered if she was the prize or just the passport, and if Daniel's affection was as real as it seemed, or if he was playing a part he'd rehearsed 100 times before. Lisa's own secrets weren't helping either, because for all her talk about honesty, she hadn't told Daniel everything. Not about her past marriages, not about the real reason she was so desperate for a new beginning, and definitely not about the promises she'd made to Faith, the ones she was already struggling to keep. As the plane touched down and the seatbelt sign blinked off, Lisa felt a surge of adrenaline, the kind that makes your hands shake and your mouth go dry. And as she gathered her bags and tried to steady her nerves, she couldn't help but wonder if she was walking into a dream or a disaster. If Daniel would be everything he'd promised, or if she was about to become another cautionary tale, the kind Faith would never let her forget. The airport was chaos. A blur of faces and voices and luggage carts, but through it all, Lisa could see Daniel waiting. His eyes locked on hers, his smile wide and eager, and as she stepped off the plane and into his world, her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. Because, in that moment, anything felt possible, and everything was at stake. Lisa drags her suitcase through the humid Lagos air, every step heavier than the last. Not just from jet lag, but from the secrets she's been hauling across continents. Secrets that feel like bricks in her carry-on, pressing down on her chest with every breath. She tries to keep her smile steady, but inside, guilt gnaws at her, sharp and relentless. because she knows she hasn't told Daniel the whole truth. Not about her past, not about the marriages that didn't last, not about the promises she made to Faith that are already starting to unravel. Each time she glances at her phone, she half expects a message from her daughter, a reminder of the deal they made. The one where Lisa swore she'd be honest, that she wouldn't let herself get swept away by a fantasy. But now, standing in a country where everything feels unfamiliar, she wonders if she's already lost control of the story. Daniel, meanwhile, is in full host mode, pacing the hotel lobby, checking his watch, making sure every detail is perfect. He's arranged for a room that's nicer than anything he's ever stayed in, paid for with Lisa's credit card, of course, and he's pulled out all the stops for her arrival. There's a troupe of dancers waiting outside, dressed in bright colors, ready to put on a show that's as much for the cameras as it is for Lisa. He wants her to feel special, to feel wanted, to feel like she's the star of her own movie, but there's a calculation behind every gesture, a sense that he's playing a part, hitting his marks, making sure the first impression is unforgettable. He's told his friends he's about to change his life, that this is his shot at something bigger, and you can see it in the way he straightens his shirt, the way he rehearses his smile in the hotel mirror, the way he keeps glancing at the door, waiting for the moment when everything changes. Lisa, for her part, is fighting a different battle. She's worried about how she looks after a long flight, her hair flattened by hours in a cramped seat, her makeup smudged, her nerves frayed. She ducks into the airport bathroom, splashing water on her face, reapplying lipstick, trying to erase the exhaustion that clings to her skin. She wonders if Daniel will notice the lines around her eyes, the way her hands shake when she zips up her bag, the way she keeps checking her reflection, searching for the woman she wants him to see. Every insecurity is magnified under the harsh fluorescent lights, and as she steps out into the arrivals hall, she feels exposed, vulnerable, like everyone is watching, waiting to see if she measures up to the version of herself she sold online. But Daniel isn't thinking about her wrinkles or her nerves. He's thinking about the future, about the life he wants, about the chance to start over in a place where opportunity feels limitless. On camera, he doesn't hide his ambition. He talks about America with a kind of reverence, about the dreams he's carried since he was a boy, about the sacrifices he's willing to make to get there. He says he loves Lisa, that he's attracted to her, that he wants to build a life together, but there's always a glint in his eye, a hunger that goes beyond romance, a sense that this is more than love, it's a transaction, a deal, a way out. He's charming, attentive, quick with a compliment, but there's a script to his words, a rhythm that feels practiced, and you start to wonder if Lisa is hearing what she wants to hear, or if she's ignoring the warning signs because the alternative is too painful to face. As Lisa wheels her suitcase through the sliding doors, she's greeted by a burst of music, drums pounding, dancers swirling in a blur of color and movement. The crowd parts, and there's Daniel, arms open, grinning from ear to ear, as if he's been waiting his whole life for this moment. The spectacle is overwhelming, a sensory overload that leaves Lisa breathless, swept up in the excitement but also uneasy, because while the welcome is grand, it feels staged, almost too perfect, like a scene from a movie where everyone knows their lines except her. She laughs, caught up in the energy, but inside, the doubts are louder than ever. And as Daniel pulls her into the celebration, she can't shake the feeling that she's stepped into a story that's already been written, and she's not sure if she's the heroine or the mark. Daniel wastes no time turning up the charm, showering Lisa with compliments so thick you could spread them on toast, calling her beautiful, telling her she looks even better in person, and handing her a bouquet of flowers so bright they almost distract from the fact that he's barely let go of her hand since she stepped into the arrivals hall. He's attentive, always a step ahead, pulling out her chair, carrying her bags, making sure she never has to lift a finger, and every gesture is so perfectly timed, it's hard not to feel special, even if a small part of Lisa wonders if he's done this before. He gives her a necklace, a little heart-shaped pendant, that he fastens around her neck himself, his fingers lingering just a second too long. And the cameras catch every moment, every smile, every blush, Every time Lisa's eyes dart away, searching for something solid to hold onto in the whirlwind, Lisa feels herself getting swept up, her heart racing with every sweet word, every touch, every promise that this is the start of something real, something lasting. But underneath the excitement, there's a current of doubt she can't ignore. She remembers Faith's warnings, the late-night phone calls where her daughter begged her to slow down, to keep her guard up, to remember that love isn't always what it seems, especially when it comes wrapped in grand gestures and big dreams. Lisa wants to believe in the fairy tale, wants to let herself fall. But every time Daniel leans in a little closer, every time he whispers about their future together, she feels a knot tighten in her stomach. A reminder that sometimes the things that look too good to be true are exactly that. Daniel keeps the pressure on, never letting the mood dip, always steering the conversation back to their future, to the life they'll build together, to the plans he's already making for their wedding, their home, their family. He talks about how much he wants to meet Lisa's daughter, how excited he is to be a part of her life, how he can't wait to start their new chapter in America, and every word is laced with urgency. As if he's afraid that if he stops moving, stops talking, stops pushing, the whole thing will fall apart. Lisa laughs, plays along, but inside she's spinning, caught between the thrill of being wanted and the fear of being used, and every time Daniel squeezes her hand or looks at her with those big, hopeful eyes, she wonders if she's reading too much into things or not enough. Faith's voice is never far away, echoing in Lisa's mind, reminding her of all the times she's rushed in before, all the time she's ignored the red flags because she wanted so badly to believe in love, and Lisa tries to push the doubts aside, tries to focus on the moment, but the questions keep piling up. Why is Daniel in such a hurry? Why does he talk about marriage like it's a foregone conclusion? Why does every conversation circle back to visas and paperwork and the life he wants in America? Lisa wants answers, but she's afraid to ask. Afraid that if she pushes too hard, the magic will break and she'll be left alone again, with nothing but regrets and broken promises. As the day wears on, Daniel's hints become less subtle, his talk of marriage more direct, and Lisa feels her nerves spike, her hands trembling as she tries to keep up with the pace he's setting. He tells her he's never felt this way before, that he knows she's the one, that he doesn't want to waste any more time, and Lisa smiles, nods, tries to match his enthusiasm. But inside, she's screaming for a pause, for a moment to catch her breath, to figure out if this is love or something else. Entirely. The sun is setting, the city is buzzing, and as Daniel leans in, his voice low and urgent, Lisa realizes she's standing on the edge of a decision that could change everything, and she's not sure if she's ready to jump. Lisa sits on the edge of the hotel bed, the necklace Daniel gave her still cool against her skin, her suitcase half unpacked, and her mind even messier. Replaying every conversation, every promise, every warning she's ever heard about what happens when you hide the truth from someone who says they love you. She knows she's not the woman Daniel thinks she is, not exactly, and the weight of her real story presses down on her, heavier than any jet lag. Because she's been married more times than she's admitted, loved and lost in ways she's never told him. And every time she looks at her phone, Faith's last message stares back at her. A silent dare to do the right thing, to be honest, to keep her word. The guilt is sharp, a constant ache, and she wonders if Daniel would still look at her the same way if he knew everything. If he'd still want to build a life with her, or if he'd see her as damaged goods, a risk not worth taking. Meanwhile, Daniel's mask is slipping, just a little. And the more he talks about the future, the more his dreams of America start to sound less like a love story and more like a business plan. He asks questions about visas, about paperwork, about how soon they could start the process, and every time Lisa tries to steer the conversation back to them, to their feelings, to the things that matter to her, Daniel finds a way to bring it back to logistics, to timelines, to the steps he needs to take to get where he wants to go. He's careful, always smiling, always attentive, but there's a calculation in his eyes, a sense that he's waiting for the right moment to make his move, to lock things down before Lisa has a chance to change her mind. He's patient, but it's the kind of patience that feels like pressure, a countdown she can't escape, and Lisa feels it in every glance, every touch, every time he says he can't wait to start their new life together. Lisa's fear grows with every passing hour, the dread of being rejected, of being left alone in a foreign country with nothing but her secrets and her shame, and she wonders if it's better to keep pretending, to let Daniel believe the version of her he wants to see, or if she should risk everything and tell him the truth. She remembers the promise she made to Faith, the one thing she swore she wouldn't compromise, and the thought of breaking it makes her stomach twist. But the idea of losing Daniel, of watching his face change when he hears the real story, is almost unbearable. She tries to imagine what he'll say, how he'll react, if he'll walk away or if he'll stay, and the uncertainty is paralyzing, a storm she can't see her way through. Daniel, for his part, is playing the long game, biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to propose, to seal the deal before any doubts can take root. He's attentive, affectionate, always saying the right thing, but Lisa can feel the tension building, the sense that something big is coming, that the next move will change everything. She watches him closely, searching for signs of real love, for proof that he's here for her, and not just for the life she represents. But every answer leads to more questions, and the line between truth and performance gets blurrier by the minute. As night falls, and the city outside their window comes alive, Lisa sits in the half-light, torn between the urge to confess and the fear of what comes next, her heart pounding as she weighs her options, knowing that whatever she decides, nothing will ever be the same. She takes a deep breath, her fingers hovering over her phone, ready to call Faith, to ask for advice, to beg for forgiveness, but the words won't come. And for now, the secret stays locked inside, waiting for its moment, as Lisa wonders if she's about to lose everything or finally find the courage to be herself. The air is thick with music and the scent of sweat and perfume as Daniel suddenly drops to one knee in the middle of the hotel lobby, right in front of the dancers, the hotel staff, and a handful of curious onlookers who can't believe what they're seeing. He pulls out a ring, the kind that catches the light in every eye in the room, and for a moment, time seems to slow as every conversation fades into a hush. All attention locked on Lisa, who stands frozen, her hands pressed to her mouth, her heart pounding so hard she's sure everyone can hear it. Daniel's voice is steady, practiced, almost too perfect as he asks her to marry him, his eyes never leaving hers, his smile wide and unwavering, and the crowd erupts in cheers, clapping and whistling, turning the moment into a spectacle that feels both magical and suffocating. Lisa's mind is spinning, 1,000 thoughts colliding at once, Faith's warnings echoing in her ears, the promises she made to herself, the doubts she's tried to bury, all crashing to the surface as she tries to process what's happening. She can feel the weight of every eye in the room, the pressure to say yes, to make everyone happy, to live up to the fantasy that's been building since she stepped off the plane. Daniel's gaze is intense, almost pleading, and for a split second, Lisa wonders if he's more invested in the performance than in her. If this proposal is about love or about sealing the deal. About making sure she can't back out now that everyone is watching. She wants to believe it's real, wants to let herself be swept away by the romance, but the doubts are louder than ever. Faith's voice cutting through the noise, reminding her that love shouldn't feel like a trap, that real commitment takes time, that saying yes now could mean saying no to everything she's worked so hard to protect. Daniel doesn't let up, his hand outstretched, the ring glinting in the light, his words soft but insistent, promising her the world, a future together, a love that will last forever. And Lisa feels herself teetering on the edge, caught between the dream and the reality, between what she wants and what she fears. The crowd is still cheering, urging her on, and Lisa feels the pressure mounting, the sense that this is her moment, her chance to step into the story she's always wanted, but the fear of making a mistake, of letting herself be blinded by hope, is almost overwhelming. She looks at Daniel, searching his face for answers, for reassurance, for something real to hold on to, but all she sees is the urgency in his eyes, the need for her to say yes, to make it official, to give him what he wants. Her hands tremble as she reaches for the ring, her voice caught in her throat, and for a heartbeat, the world holds its breath, waiting for her answer. As Lisa stands at the crossroads, unsure which path will lead her to happiness and which will leave her more alone than ever. Lisa can still feel the echo of the crowd's cheers in her ears as she sits alone in the hotel room. The ring heavy on her finger, her heart caught somewhere between exhilaration and dread. The adrenaline rush from Daniel's proposal hasn't faded, but now it's tangled with guilt and fear. A cocktail of emotions that leaves her restless and unable to sleep. She keeps replaying the moment in her mind, the way Daniel looked at her, the way everyone seemed to expect her to say yes, and the way she did, even though a part of her was screaming to slow down, to think, to breathe. The excitement is real. She's never been the center of attention like this, never felt so wanted, so chosen. But underneath it all, there's a gnawing sense that she's lost control, that she's been swept up in something bigger than herself, and she's not sure how to get her footing back. Daniel, on the other hand, is riding high. His confidence growing with every congratulatory message, every handshake, every smile from the hotel staff who now treat him like a celebrity. He's attentive, affectionate, always by Lisa's side, but there are moments when his mask slips, when his focus drifts from her to his phone to conversations she can't hear, to plans she's not a part of. He talks more openly now about the future, about the paperwork they'll need to start, about the money it will take to make everything happen. And Lisa starts to notice the cracks in his story. The way his dreams of America seem to overshadow everything else. The way he brushes off her questions, with a smile and a promise that everything will work out if she trusts him. Back home, Faith is frantic, her texts coming in rapid-fire bursts, her worry bleeding through every word. She wants to know what happened, why Lisa said yes, if she's sure about Daniel, if she's thought this through, if she's safe. Lisa tries to reassure her, sending photos of the ring, of the hotel, of Daniel smiling by her side, but the words feel hollow, even to her. She tells Faith that she's happy, that she knows what she's doing, that Daniel is different, that this time will be different, but the more she tries to convince her daughter, the less convinced she feels herself. The guilt is sharp, a constant reminder that she's broken her promise, that she's put her own happiness ahead of her daughter's peace of mind, and she wonders if she's made a mistake she can't undo. Lisa spends hours justifying her decision, replaying every conversation with Daniel, searching for proof that his feelings are real, that this isn't just about a green card or a ticket to a better life. She tells herself that love is always a risk, that she deserves a chance at happiness, that Faith will understand in time, but the doubts keep creeping in, whispering that she's ignored the warning signs, that she's let herself be blinded by hope, that she's repeating the same patterns that have hurt her before. She tries to focus on the good moments, on the way Daniel looks at her, on the promises he makes, but the fear never fully goes away, always lurking just beneath the surface. Then, as if on cue, Daniel brings up money. His tone casual but his eyes sharp, asking if Lisa can help cover some unexpected expenses, if she can send a little more to help with the paperwork, with the hotel, with the things he says they need to start their life together. The request is small at first, easy to brush off as normal, but Lisa feels her stomach drop, the old anxiety flaring up as she realizes how quickly the conversation has shifted from romance to finances. She wants to believe it's all part of building a future together, but the stress is real, the pressure mounting, and for the first time, she wonders if she's in over her head, if the price of this love story is more than she can afford. The first days together are nothing like the whirlwind romance Lisa imagined on the plane. The hotel room feels smaller with Daniel's things scattered everywhere, and the excitement of the proposal fades into a routine that's awkward and sometimes tense. Breakfast is a mess of misunderstandings. Lisa wants coffee and toast. Daniel insists on local dishes she can barely pronounce, and every meal turns into a negotiation. They laugh it off at first, but the differences start to pile up, little things that wouldn't matter if everything else felt solid. Daniel is glued to his phone, always messaging someone, always checking something. and Lisa can't help but wonder who he's talking to and what he's planning. Daniel's patience wears thin quickly. He wants to get started on the paperwork, pushing Lisa to fill out forms, make calls, send money, and every time she hesitates, he gets a little sharper, a little less charming. He talks about how much better things will be in America, how he can't wait to start their new life, but Lisa hears the urgency in his voice, the way he skips over the present and jumps straight to the future. She tries to keep up, tries to match his energy, but the doubts are growing louder, crowding out the excitement that brought her here in the first place. Lisa finds herself working overtime to keep the fantasy alive, putting on makeup she doesn't feel like wearing, laughing at jokes that don't land, pretending she's not bothered by the way Daniel talks about money or the way he brushes off her questions. She wants to believe in the story they're telling, wants to prove to Faith and to herself that she hasn't made a mistake, but every day feels a little heavier, every smile a little more forced. Daniel notices, and his frustration bubbles up in small ways, a sigh when she asks for a break, a roll of his eyes when she hesitates to send more money, a cold silence when she tries to talk about anything other than visas and travel plans. Faith's warnings are a constant soundtrack in Lisa's mind, growing louder with every awkward moment, every uncomfortable conversation. She replays their last call, the way Faith begged her to slow down, to be careful, to remember who she is and what she deserves. Lisa wants to call her, to hear her voice, to ask for advice. But she's afraid of what Faith will say, afraid of admitting that things aren't perfect, that the fairy tale is starting to crack. The tension finally boils over one night when Daniel pushes too hard about the paperwork, his voice rising as he accuses Lisa of not trusting him, of not being committed, of holding him back from the life he wants. Lisa snaps, her own frustration spilling out as she tells him she needs time, that she's scared, that she doesn't want to rush into something she can't undo. The argument is loud, raw, and messy, both of them saying things they can't take back, and when it's over, the silence between them is colder than the hotel air conditioning, each of them wondering if the story they've been telling is already falling apart. Lisa wakes up to the sound of Daniel's phone buzzing on the nightstand, the screen lighting up with messages that he tries to hide with a quick swipe and a forced smile. She's seen the way he guards his phone, the way he steps out to take calls, the way his tone shifts when he thinks she isn't listening. The doubts that have been simmering now boil over, and Lisa's heart sinks as she catches a glimpse of a message from another woman. The words flirty and familiar. Nothing like the promises he's been making to her. The shock is sharp, a cold rush that leaves her breathless, and for a moment she can't move, can't speak, can only watch as the fantasy she's been clinging to starts to unravel right in front of her. When she finally confronts Daniel, her voice shakes with anger and hurt, demanding to know who he's been talking to and why he's still reaching out to other women when he's supposed to be building a life with her. Daniel doesn't flinch. He shrugs, his expression flat, and tells her she's overreacting, that she's being paranoid, that it's normal to keep in touch with friends, that she's the one he wants to marry. His words are smooth, practiced, but there's no warmth behind them, no real apology, just a cold logic that makes Lisa feel small and foolish for ever believing in the story he sold her. Lisa's heartbreak is raw, the pain settling in her chest as she realizes how much she's risked, how much she's given up, how far she's traveled for a man who can't even give her the truth. She tries to hold back tears, tries to keep her voice steady, but the betrayal is too much, and the questions tumble out. Was any of it real? Or was she always just a means to an end, a ticket to a better life, a name on a visa application? Daniel's answers are vague, his patience thin, and he turns the blame back on her, accusing her of not trusting him, of making problems where there are none, of ruining what they could have had. The room feels colder now, the distance between them wider than ever, and Lisa is left staring at the man she thought she knew, searching his face for any sign of the love he promised, finding only calculation and disappointment. Every memory of their time together is tainted, every sweet moment now suspect, and Lisa is left questioning everything. Her choices, her judgment, her worth. The mask has slipped, and what's left is a truth she can't ignore, a heartbreak she can't hide, and a future that suddenly feels emptier than ever. Lisa sits on the edge of the bed, her suitcase open at her feet, clothes spilling out in a mess that mirrors the chaos inside her. The room feels smaller than ever, the walls closing in as she tries to make sense of everything that's happened, every promise broken, every red flag ignored. She stares at her phone, Faith's latest message glowing on the screen, the words clear and sharp. Come home now. Or don't expect things to be the same. The ultimatum hits harder than she expected, a reminder that her choices have consequences far beyond her own heart, that the line between love and self-destruction is thinner than she ever realized. Daniel senses her slipping away and turns up the charm, his voice softer, his touch gentler, promising that things will be different, that he'll change, that he only wants her. He brings her flowers, makes her breakfast, tells her stories about the life they could have together, painting pictures of a future that almost sound believable if she closes her eyes and lets herself forget everything she's seen. But the cracks are too deep now, the trust too broken, and every sweet word feels like another layer of manipulation, another attempt to keep her from walking out the door. Lisa's emotions swing wildly, hope and heartbreak colliding in waves that leave her exhausted and raw. She wants to believe in second chances, wants to believe that love can survive even this. But Faith's voice is louder than ever, reminding her of who she was before Daniel, of the promises she made to herself and to her daughter. The guilt is crushing, the fear of losing her family almost as strong as the fear of being alone, and, for the first time, Lisa wonders if fighting for this relationship is worth the cost. Daniel doesn't give up easily. He pleads, he reasons, he even cries, but every apology feels rehearsed, every promise empty. He tells her she's overreacting, that she's letting other people ruin what they have, that she'll regret leaving him. The pressure is relentless, and Lisa feels herself unraveling, her confidence slipping away with every argument, every accusation, every desperate attempt to make things right. In the end, Lisa stands in the middle of the room, her hands shaking as she folds her clothes and zips up her suitcase, her mind racing with doubts and regrets. She looks at Daniel, searching for a sign that there's still something worth saving, but all she sees is a man who wants her to stay for his own reasons, not for love. The decision isn't clear, the path forward uncertain, and as she closes her suitcase and wipes away her tears, Lisa knows that whatever comes next, nothing will ever be the same. Lisa steps off the plane, the familiar chill of home air hitting her face, but it doesn't bring the comfort she hoped for. The airport is crowded, but she feels invisible, her mind replaying every moment from Nigeria, every promise, every argument, every time she ignored her instincts for the hope of something real. Her suitcase feels heavier than ever, not because of what's inside, but because of everything she's carrying back with her. Regret, disappointment, and the ache of a love story that ended before it ever really began. She spots Faith waiting near the baggage claim, arms crossed, eyes searching, and for a second, Lisa hesitates, afraid of what she'll see in her daughter's face, anger, hurt, maybe even I told you so. But when Faith finally sees her, the tension breaks, and she rushes forward, wrapping Lisa in a hug that's tighter and longer than any lecture could ever be. The car ride home is quiet at first, the city lights blurring past the window as Lisa tries to find the words to explain what happened, to make sense of choices that seemed right in the moment but now feel impossible to justify. Faith listens, her jaw tight, but she doesn't interrupt, letting Lisa talk through the whirlwind of emotions, how Daniel made her feel seen, how quickly things moved, how the fantasy crumbled under the weight of reality. Lisa admits the truth she's been avoiding. She wanted to believe in love so badly that she ignored every warning, every red flag, every instinct that told her to slow down. She confesses the guilt she feels for breaking her promise, for putting her own happiness ahead of her daughter's trust, and for letting herself get swept up in a story that was never hers to write. Faith's anger softens as she hears the pain in her mother's voice, and by the time they pull into the driveway, the distance between them has started to close. Inside, Lisa sits at the kitchen table, the ring Daniel gave her still in her pocket, a cold reminder of everything she left behind. She scrolls through her phone, seeing Daniel's name pop up again and again, not just in her messages, but all over social media. He's posted photos of them together, captions about heartbreak and betrayal, comments from strangers who don't know the real story but are quick to take sides. Some call Lisa foolish, others call Daniel a scammer. And the noise is overwhelming. A digital storm that makes it impossible to move on quietly. Daniel's reaction is as dramatic as his proposal. He sends Lisa long messages, some pleading, some angry, all trying to rewrite the ending she's already chosen. He posts videos online, telling his side of the story, painting himself as the victim, the man who loved too much and lost everything. The comments pour in, some sympathetic, some cruel, and Lisa feels the sting of public judgment, the way strangers dissect her choices as if they know her heart. She wants to defend herself, to set the record straight, but every time she tries to type a response, the words get stuck. The pain too fresh, the shame too raw. In the quiet of her own home, Lisa finally lets herself feel everything she's been holding back. She cries for the love she thought she found, for the trust she gave too easily, for the dreams that slipped through her fingers. She thinks about the woman she was before Daniel, the woman who believed in second chances, who wanted so badly to be chosen, to be loved, to be seen. She realizes now that love built on secrets and desperation can't last. That real happiness doesn't come from someone else's promises, but from the courage to be honest. With herself, with Faith, with anyone who wants a place in her life. Faith sits beside her, silent at first, then reaching out to take her hand. She tells Lisa she's proud of her for coming home, for facing the truth, for choosing herself when it mattered most. The words are simple, but they mean everything. And for the first time in weeks, Lisa feels a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe this heartbreak is the start of something better. They talk late into the night, sharing stories, laughter, even a few tears, rebuilding the trust that was shaken, but never broken. Lisa apologizes for the pain she caused, for the risks she took, for the way she let her own loneliness cloud her judgment, and Faith forgives her, reminding her that everyone makes mistakes, but not everyone has the strength to admit them and start again. As the days pass, the noise online fades, replaced by quieter moments of healing and reflection. Lisa deletes Daniel's messages, puts the ring away in a drawer, and starts to reclaim her life, one small step at a time. She reconnects with friends, picks up old hobbies, and lets herself imagine a future that isn't defined by someone else's dreams. She knows the scars will linger, that trust will take time to rebuild, but she also knows she's stronger than she thought, braver than she believed, and more loved than she ever realized. And just when you think the drama is over, there's another story waiting in the wings, another couple, another wild ride, another lesson in love and heartbreak that will make you question everything you thought you knew about reality TV romance. If you thought Lisa and Daniel's saga was intense, wait until you see what happens next.